the two of you were neighbors.
Correct. He had this habit of turning his music up so loud. So I called the police. The next day I get out of my car and he calls me.
Did the two of you ever see each other socially?
Just the two of us?
Just the two of you.
This is Judy Justice. Robin Schepler is suing her former neighbor, Garrett Tappendorf, for a mobility scooter and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3053, Schepler versus Tappendorf.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Schepler, am I correct that the two of you were neighbors in a mobile home community?
Correct.
How long had you been neighbors in the community where you lived?
2 years.
Did the two of you ever see each other socially?
Just the two of us?
Just the two of you.
One time we went for a Friday night fish dinner, yes.
Other than the one-time Friday night fish dinner, did you ever go out socially with him? Either two of you or another couple or...
With other neighbors in the mobile home park.
Your case is about a scooter that you sold to the defendant.
Correct.
I want you to tell me exactly what kind of scooter it was because I wasn't able to get...
Two scooter.
Where did you get it from?
My father bought himself a scooter and a wheelchair. He never used them before he moved into a
So
nursing
you
home.
got it from your father?
Correct.
When? What year?
2018.
And how long had he had it before he gave it to you?
3 years.
And where did he get it from?
He purchased it from a connection he had at the VA center.
From a private person?
No, it was from the company directly.
Any luck?
So I just need to know if it's a 3-wheel or a 4-wheel.
3-wheel.
Then I have for a new one from Golden Tech, I believe.
Well, this one's 8 years old.
Well, I have what a new one is,
Okay.
and then I have what some eBay offers
Okay,
are.
good.
But 2756
Is new.
is new. And then I could look up some used ones if you want, just to get.
Could you
an
do
idea.
that from 2015? I would appreciate it. Okay. At the time that you claimed the defendant purchased this scooter from you, was it running?
No.
In what month and year did he purchase it from you?
May of 2021.
And how long had it not been running? You had had it since 2018.
As far as I know, it just needed 2 new batteries.
It's not what I asked you.
Okay.
How long had it not been running?
I'm not aware.
So as far as you know, it had not been running since 2018.
Yes.
Tappendorf was with regard to the scooter. He said he wanted it. You said...
Said, well, it's not running. I wanted to get new batteries for it and sell it myself for about $3,000.
Yeah, well, that would be hard since it's 8 years old and the new one costs less than $3,000.
So I said, we can work out a deal.
Just said, do you understand what I just said?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So he said he's interested in buying it, and I know he's a handyman. So I asked if he would be willing to install a dishwasher in my home and a water softener in my home, and we could work out a discounted price for buying the scooter from me.
So what price did you work out?
At that time, I had mentioned $1,500.
Is that what he agreed to?
It was a verbal agreement. There was no talk on price.
No, there cannot be a contract without terms. Have to be terms. You say this is what you want. He says this is what I'll pay you. And I will do something to reduce that price by so much. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay, so far we don't have a contract.
No.
In what month and year did you take possession of the scooter, sir?
I believe Robin is right. May of 2021.
How much money did you give her for it?
None.
Did you ever give her any money for it?
Yes.
When?
Close to 8 months to a year later.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you giving her money for it.
Well, I thought we already had it work, and my girlfriend took it down to the mailbox, and as soon as she left, Robin's right across the street. She come running over, and she said she wanted more money.
Okay, well, I'm
gave
missing
her
that whole, there's a whole piece missing there, sir. 8 months later, you gave her money.
Yes, I did.
How much?
$500.
Okay. Sarah, in your
I looked up.
adventure on the machine, did you come up with a price for a used?
Yes. So there's actually one right here on eBay that's the same 3 wheels that needs batteries for $350. And then there's another one for $250, and they range up to about $750.
Your Honor, I have the information on that, too, from 2 companies in La Crosse.
No, I don't need any information from you. I have a very trusted clerk here
Okay.
who's just looked it up, and indicated that for a used scooter, the range is from $250 for that year model to $750 for that year model, right?
That's what she looked up. This was
That's
an
what she
unused, never used scooter.
That's what she looked up.
Yes.
Also, if I may ask you, Your Honor, or show you, it is a manufactured.
So far, you're not losing, sir. So I don't know what you want
I'm
to
sorry.
contribute to this.
The date on it, it was manufactured 05/28 of 2007.
Okay, so it wasn't 2015, it was 2007.
That's what I found on the scooter.
Kevin, can I see the document that the defendant referenced?
Okay, I'll show you
No, you had it right over there.
this one.
Yeah.
Well, that's just, it's on my phone, Your Honor, and I don't know if you can look at it. I just wrote it down so I had it in front of me, but
Okay.
I have it on this phone. If you can operate it, I don't know.
I can't operate it, and I don't want to operate it.
Okay.
Return this to him. Anyway, the $500 that you gave to her is more than reasonable for the scooter. So my question to you is, if it was vulgar then, which to me it would have been, why did you let him in your house to install a dishwasher?
I was not aware of those actions that he had at that time.
Okay.
And later today,
He advanced the money for security deposits so you had a place to live. And the next month, you decided to be a stay-at-home dad.
I had no option.
I don't care. What does that matter to Mr. Huntsman? Do I care? Does Sarah care that you had no option? Whitney doesn't care. Not even Kevin cares if you have no option.
Robin Shepler claims her former neighbor, Garrett Tappendorf, harassed her for months and owes for a mobility scooter.
Now, you did other work for her. Tell me what other work you did for her.
The work that I performed for Robin was she had no dishwasher there. So I cut the cabinet out, prepared a spot for the dishwasher, had to go through more cabinets to get the plumbing over to the sink. Then it needed to have electrical work to power that up. And she asked me to install another electrical outlet for her microwave.
Now, Miss Shepler, you seem to acknowledge that the defendant did, in fact, install a dishwasher for you.
I did some of the work as well for that.
Well, that's your home.
Yes.
It's not his home. So you can do as much work as you like. And this was part of the deal for the scooter, which he paid you $500 for, which already covers the cost of the scooter. So now he's working off nothing. So he installed a dishwasher for you.
He did sub-quality work, though.
Well,
I have photos if
Just
you'd
as-
like to see.
I don't want to see, madam. If you want a professional installation, call a professional. If you want your neighbor to do it in exchange for a scooter, then you don't complain.
I had to replace it. No.
It was used, Your Honor.
What?
It was a used dishwasher.
Yeah, replacing the dishwasher. Does the current dishwasher work?
Yes.
Is the current dishwasher a new one?
Yes.
Was the one he installed a used one?
Yes.
There we go. So far, he's paid for the scooter. Punitive damages for harassment. You want to go into that, Ms. Shepler?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
I knew him for 6 years prior to being neighbors. In that time, we would have community fires, bonfires, and he had this habit of turning his music up so loud.
Just a second. Give me a month and year.
This specific time for the last time was on March 16th. This was during the day.
Just March 16th, 2000.
23.
He played his music too loud.
I was working, and I couldn't do my job across the street because his music was so loud.
Next.
So I called the police.
And?
The next day I came home from work, I get out of my car, and he calls me
That's a nasty word.
No, I did not.
Just a second. And?
in other vulgar terms.
And?
And he had the habit of standing outside urinating, where my grandchildren would see him.
Well, tell me when. Give me a
Every other day he did it.
Well, then you shouldn't have let him in your house to install a dishwasher. You is, if it was vulgar then, which to me it would have been, why did you let him in your house to install a dishwasher?
I was not aware of those actions that he had at that time.
Okay. Next.
The harassment comes from after he was served his small claims case that I filed. I witnessed him putting spotlights out in his front flower bed and running extension cords to power them. And I kind of wondered what he was doing. At 6:30, I proceeded to go to an evening activity. I came home at 10:30 at night. I turned the corner onto my street to see the entire street lit up because these spotlights are shining on my house. I proceeded to call the police. The police came within 11 minutes. I have documents of the police. I have a video of the police going to the defendant's house, in which they spoke to him, and within 3 minutes, the lights went off. But I had my camera rolling, and I could see the police were standing 10 feet away from the door. Next thing I know, the police are coming over to my house to talk to me, and when they came to my door, I turned on my front light. When the police came, they asked me to turn off the lights so they could talk to me, and I told them, this man is harassing me. I'm afraid of him. He has a problem with alcohol.
Why did you file a small claims case against him? I don't understand. You were paid more than the scooter was worth. Between the $500, in addition to that, he did some work in your house, whether you liked the work he did, whether you didn't like the work that he did. I'm not understanding why you filed, because you say this harassment started after you filed the small claims case.
Yes.
And I don't understand why you filed a small claims case against him.
I feel it was a brand new, unused scooter that happened to be 6 years old at the time. So I think the value was higher than $500. And I brought over a flyer to him, which I have here. And we sat down and we discussed it, that $1,000 would be the going price for what he'd owed for the scooter, having done the work.
Okay. First of all, whatever it was a plus item for you. It was given to you by your father who couldn't use it anymore. You don't know what he paid for it. He says from the scooter, it was built in 2007, despite the fact that you say your father bought it new in 2015, which I'm not so sure about. But the highest price for that scooter is $750. The highest. The lowest is $225 in the same year. So you got paid for it. I don't understand why a busy woman like you would waste your time. I just don't understand. You seem like an intelligent woman. You have a counterclaim. It is your claim, Mr. Tappendorf, that because the plaintiff called the police on you several times, it caused you to be evicted from your home.
Held a counterclaim in the amount of $1,800.
I have it. And it says punitive damages for losing home and moving expenses, which I read your counterclaim, and you say because of her constant complaints about you.
I don't have any proof.
Well, if you don't have,
I know,
Mr. Tappendorf, you know what happens when you don't have proof?
You get nothing.
Right. Right. Because you filed the counterclaim, and I can't tell you what happened. You have to have proof and be able to show me that the reason you were asked to leave the leased property that your mobile home was on was because of the plaintiff. It's possible that it was, because the police, based upon what she tells me, were called twice.
It was more than that.
That may be more of a reason. You don't have to help his case.
I've never had a ticket, never had a warning. I just had a warning one time that the radio was too loud, please turn it off. These lights that she's talking about
I'm not interested.
False.
Sir, all you have to do is show me that you were evicted from the property because of the plaintiff.
It's all hearsay then, Your Honor.
Well, then I have a problem.
I do have proof of what he harassed me with.
Just a second.
And later today,
According to what I read, the money was going to come from your work. It was to come. Listen, he didn't give you $2,800. I want you to understand that right now. That's not going through my mind.
Okay.
This is a very smart old mind.
Robin Shepler claims her former neighbor, Garrett Tappendorf, harassed her for months and owes for a mobility scooter.
He has no case. Why are you helping him?
I'm not helping him. I have my own case against.
No,
my
your
court
case is dismissed against him
Thank you.
because you have no case. You were paid for a scooter more than handsomely. You had work done in your house. You were paid far more than the value of it over the internet for a scooter that's between 8 and 14 years old, more than handsomely, and you had work, and he did work for you. That you may not have liked the work, but he did the work, and you installed a new dishwasher that works. And he did the cabinetry. You may not like the way he did it, but you installed the dishwasher there, and it took time. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're done here. Go, be well, have a happy life. You're not living there anymore?
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
Good. Are you living someplace else that you like?
More peaceful place.
Good. Glad to hear it. That's
He's
it.
not
We're done.
supposed to be in our park, and he continues to. He was in front of my camera riding in circles. I'm on Robin's camera. I'm on candid camera, doing burnouts with my scooter.
It goes 4 miles an hour.
He taunted me with the scooter, and he knew he owed me more money on it.
I have another girlfriend that lives in the neighborhood, and they're all jealous of her, and they just want me out of there now.
Well, he's been evicted from the park, and all of the people are very happy that he's no longer there.
That defendant has definitely watched you before. He knew he had no proof, and he knew he was going home because of it. But I mean, I guess at least be honest. When you come in, he knew he didn't have it, but
what do I have? Got nothing.
yeah, it's at least he knew it was hearsay, and he knew you weren't hearing it.
I actually thought he was pretty sharp.
Yeah, but I think, you know, she was adequately paid, and he did work. She didn't like it, hire a professional.
Yeah, well, you put in a used dishwasher in the work that he created. So he really more than paid for it.
Yeah.
There's something else there. There's some other annoyance there. I'm not exactly sure what it is between the two of them.
You don't want to know.
And I don't. Yes.
Case 3043, Huntsman versus Valdez. All parties please step forward.
Her employee, Jesse Valdez, for an unpaid loan and fraudulently cashing one of his checks.
Mr. Valdez, from when to when did you work for Mr. Huntsman?
Sometime early July to November 1st.
Of 2022?
2022, yes.
And in September of 2022, what was the address where you were living?
September 1st, it was Midvale, Utah.
And how long did you live there?
I'm still currently living there.
And in order to get that apartment, you needed security deposit.
Yes.
Now, you were working for Mr. Huntsman and doing insulation.
Yes.
And he wanted you to be a worker, and you wanted to be a worker. You have children, one or more.
2.
Do you have a wife? Is not an answer.
She's a girlfriend, sorry. Yeah.
You have a girlfriend. Is she the mother of the 2 children?
She is.
Does she work?
She does.
And you don't work anymore. You are a stay-at-home dad.
Currently, yes. I do what I can.
You needed security deposit for this apartment when you moved in.
I didn't need it.
Well, in order to live there, you had to have security deposit.
Yes.
And you didn't have it.
Correct.
And the total security deposit that was needed for this apartment was living there, in addition to your girlfriend and 2 children, with one other employee who was a friend of yours.
It's my cousin's boyfriend, but also a friend, yes.
He was eventually evicted from the apartment.
He was.
Now, you took from Mr. Huntsman the $2,800, which is currently with the landlord.
It is, yes.
And according to what I read, the money was going to come from your work
Yeah.
for Mr. Huntsman.
Yes.
that was-
Could we back up just a second?
Sure.
Could we ask that question one more time? Just so I know.
The money was supposed to come. Listen, he didn't give you $2,800. I want you to understand that right now. That's not going through my mind.
Okay.
This is a very smart old mind.
Okay.
I can understand that you needed an apartment. You needed a place to live. He wanted you to come to work for them, and he advanced the money for security deposit so you had a place to live.
Yes.
That's what happened. And then the next month, you decided to be a stay-at-home dad.
I had no option.
I don't care. What does that matter to Mr. Huntsman? Do I care? Does Sarah care that you had no option? Whitney doesn't care. Not even Kevin cares if you have no option.
Okay.
Nobody cares if you have no option, especially a stranger. Tell your girlfriend to get 2 jobs. You get 2 jobs, put your kids in daycare.
Okay.
That's
For me.
What do you mean it wasn't? You're still living in the apartment.
Yeah, I know it wasn't.
Just a second, you're still living in the apartment. The landlord still has the $2,800 that he gave you.
Yeah.
And giving it to you with the idea that you were going to be an employee. That's what you said in your answer. That's why I don't understand you, Mr. Valdez. You said that in your answer, that he gave you the money because he wanted both you and your girlfriend's cousin, whoever else moved into the apartment with you, he wanted you to come to work for him, and it was important enough for him, you say, to make a gift for you of $2,800 because he needed you to be a good worker. That's what you say in your answer.
Yeah.
And then you quit.
I did.
A month after you got the money, you quit. That's this timetable.
Yeah, but there's some context to it that you're not picking up on.
The context was?
The context was that I had the money for my half. My cousin and her boyfriend did not have the money to come up with the other half.
Did you use your money? Now, my question, did you
For
use...
my half, yes.
Did you, so you used your $1,400 for your half? Is that what you're telling me?
I used $2,500 of my own money for my half because after the back went from $1,400 to $2,550.
Was that for rent or security?
Security.
Show me a check where you used your money for the security. Then I'm going to dismiss his case.
September 2022. At the top is some money that we moved from our accounts from our credit. So I had to move some funds around. Here's your pen. I had to move some funds around to cover our end. And then slightly after that.
There's a difference between security deposit and rent.
Yeah.
Well, I see a deposit here, September 3rd, 2022, $1,400. Where'd that come from?
That would be the first check I received from Vince.
And then I see another deposit on August 19th, $1,400.
Yes.
Where'd that money come from?
That came from Vince as well.
Okay. $2,800, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
You know, I've always been I own my own business, and I like to see people succeed and help them out.
He gifted us the money, hands down.
Hopefully, you just can't keep doing it to people over and over and over and over. And then you can move on with this life and be a better person, period.
I guess I just got to make better decisions.
The sun hung low over the quiet rows of the mobile home community, casting long shadows that stretched across the neatly paved streets. Meant to be more than just people living in proximity. They were meant to be a support system, a collection of lives intertwined by the shared experience of seeking peace and simplicity. For 2 years, Robin Shepler and Garrett Tappendorf had shared this space. Their home stood as silent witnesses to the passage of time, the changing seasons, and the subtle shifts in their relationship. Robin was a woman of steady character, a person who valued order and the quiet dignity of a life well lived. Across from her lived Garrett, a man with the hands of craftsman and a spirit that sometimes vibrated a bit too loudly for the confines of the park. Their connection had started with the casual friendliness common to such places. There was even a moment, captured in the amber of memory, when they had shared a Friday night fish dinner. It was a simple social outing, the kind where the scent of fried batter and the sound of local chatter provided a backdrop for two people getting to know each other. It was the only time they had ventured out as a pair, a single evening of shared company that would later stand in stark contrast to the events that followed. The central figure of their dispute was not a person, but machine, a mobility scooter known as the Golden Companion 2. It was a sturdy three-wheeled vehicle, painted with a finish that still held a hint of its original luster despite the years. It had belonged to her father, a man who had purchased it directly from a company connected to the Veterans Affairs Center back in the year 2015. For her father, the scooter had been a promise of independence, a way to navigate the world when his own legs began to fail. He had also acquired a wheelchair, both of which remained in use as he eventually transitioned into the care of a nursing home. In the year 2018, the scooter came into Robin's possession. It sat as a silent sentinel, a reminder of her father's presence. By the time May of the year 2021 arrived, the scooter had been idle for some time. Robin knew that it likely needed 2 new batteries to hum back to life. Being a practical woman, she had considered selling it on her own, perhaps aiming for a price as high as $3,000 once it was refurbished. However, life has a way of presenting alternative paths. Garrett, known around the community for his skills as a handyman, expressed an interest in the machine. A conversation unfolded between neighbors, the kind of verbal agreement that feels solid in the moment but lacks the clarity of written ink. Robin needed help with her home. She wanted a dishwasher installed and a water softener set up to improve the quality of her daily life. Garrett, with his knowledge of plumbing and electricity, seemed like a deal, a discounted price where his labor would offset the cost of the scooter. Robin mentioned a figure $1,500, though the exact terms remained as fluid as the water that would eventually flow through her pipes. Garrett took possession of the scooter in May of the year 2021. He set to work on Robin's kitchen, a task that required more than just simple plugging in of an appliance. He had to cut into the wooden cabinets, preparing a specific spot for the dishwasher. He ran plumbing through the existing structure to reach the sink and perform the electrical work necessary to bring power to the machine. He even went a step further, installing an additional electrical outlet for her microwave, a gesture of thoroughness that suggested a pride in his work. However, the harmony of the project began to fray. Robin, looking at the work, felt it lacked the professional finish she had hoped for. The dishwasher Garrett installed was a used model, and while it initially served its purpose, Robin eventually found it necessary to replace it with a new one. In her mind, the value of the scooter, which she viewed as a brand new and unused item despite its age, far exceeded the value of the labor and the used appliance Garrett provided. As months turned into a year, the neighborly bond fractured further. Garrett's girlfriend eventually delivered $500 to Robin's, but for Robin, the issues were no longer just about the money. A shadow had fallen over their interactions. She spoke of Garrett's habit of playing music at a volume that shook the air, making it impossible for her to focus on her work. On the 16th of March in the year 2023, the noise reached a breaking point, leading her to call the police. The aftermath was a series of unfortunate escalations. Robin described the appearance of spotlights in Garrett's flower bed, powered by extension cords that snaked through the yard. She recalled returning home late one evening to find her entire house illuminated by the harsh glare of these lights, a sight that felt more like harassment than a simple neighborhood disagreement. The police were called again, and the lights were eventually extinguished, but the peace of the community had been disturbed. Their paths eventually led to the courtroom, a place where the messy realities of human interaction are filtered through the lens of the law. The judge, a woman of sharp intellect and deep experience, listened to their tales. She looked at the age of the scooter, noting that even a well-maintained model from the year 2007 or 2015 had a market value that was far less than Robin's initial hopes. The judge observed that the $500 paid, combined with the labor Garrett had performed in the kitchen, was a more than reason sitting idle. In another chapter of legal reflection, a different story unfolded involving a man named Vincent Huntsman and his former employee, Jesse Valdez. Vincent was a business owner who specialized in insulation, a man who believed in the value of a hard day's work and the importance of helping those on his team. Jesse was a young man with a family to support, including a girlfriend and 2 children. They were in search of a stable home in Midvale, Utah. In July of the year 2022, Jesse began working for Vincent. The relationship started with promise. When Jesse needed a security deposit for a new apartment, Vincent saw an opportunity to be a benefactor. He advanced a total of $2,800, with the understanding that the funds would be repaid through Jesse's continued labor. It was an act of kindness intended to provide a foundation for a young family. But the winds of change blew quickly. By November the same year, the professional relationship had ended. Jesse had decided to become a stay-at-home father, a choice he felt was necessary, but one that left the debt to his former employer unsettled. In the courtroom, the debate centered on whether the money was a gift or a loan. Jesse argued that the funds were a gesture of goodwill to ensure his loyalty as a worker. Vincent, however, honored. The judge looked at the evidence. A deposit of $1,400 in August and another the same amount in September. She spoke with a voice that emphasized the reality of the situation. Kindness, she suggested, should not be taken for granted. In the world of business and personal responsibility, an advance of thousands of dollars is a bridge built on the expectation of mutual effort. As the proceedings concluded, the lessons remained clear. Whether it was a dispute between neighbors over a mobility scooter or the disagreement between an employer and an employee over security deposit, the heart of the matter was the same. Life is built on the agreements we make and the respect we show for one another's contributions. Robin and Garrett eventually moved on to different chapters of their lives, living in separate spaces where the music was quieter and the lights were dim. Vincent continued to run his business, perhaps a bit more cautious, but still holding on to the belief that helping others is a worthy endeavor. Jesse, in his new role at home, had the opportunity to reflect on the importance of clear communication and the weight of his obligations. The courtroom fell silent as the parties departed, leaving behind the echoes of their stories. In the grand tapestry of human experience, these were but small threads, yet they carried profound weight of honesty, fair home. The sun continued its journey across the sky, shining down on a mobile home park and the city of Midvale alike, a reminder that every day offers a new chance to build bridges, settle debts, and live with a spirit of integrity and grace. The sun climbed high over the horizon, casting a warm and golden glow upon the walls of the courthouse. Within these halls, the air was filled with a sense of quiet anticipation. This was a place where stories met the light of day, where disagreements found their resolution, and where the complex tapestry of human relationships was unraveled by the steady hand of justice. On this particular morning, the courtroom felt welcoming, a space dedicated to the pursuit of truth and the restoration of peace among neighbors and friends. Judge Judy Justice took her seat upon the high bench, her presence commanding yet fair. She looked down at the documents before her, ready to hear the first case of the day. The bailiff called the court to order, his voice echoing clearly through the room. All those present rose as one, a gesture of respect for the process about to unfold. Case number 3053 was called, involving Mrs. Robin Shepler and Mr. Garrett Tappendorf. Mrs. Shepler stood at the podium on the left. She was a woman who valued the quiet comfort of her home. Across from her stood Mr. Tappendorf, mobile home community. For 2 years, they had lived across from one another, sharing the same street and the same community air. The judge looked at them both, her eyes keen and observant. She began by asking if it was correct that they had lived as neighbors in that mobile home park. Mrs. Shepler confirmed that this was indeed the case. The judge leaned forward, wanting to understand the nature of their relationship. She asked if the two of them had ever spent time together, socially. Mrs. Shepler paused, reflecting on the past. She mentioned that they had gone out for a Friday night fish dinner on one occasion. It was a simple outing, a moment of neighborly companionship. Beyond that single dinner, however, there were no other social gatherings, no other shared meals or outings with other couples or neighbors. Their bond was primarily one of proximity, rooted in the shared space of their community. The heart of the matter concerned a mobility scooter that Mrs. Shepler had sold to Mr. Tappendorf. The judge sought to understand the details of this machine. It was a Golden Companion 2 scooter, a device intended to provide freedom and movement. Mrs. Shepler explained that she had obtained it from her father. Her father had purchased a scooter and a wheelchair for himself, though he never had the chance to use them before he moved in 18, having owned it for 3 years prior to giving it to his daughter. The scooter had been purchased directly from a company through a connection at the Veterans Affairs Center. The court clerk, Sarah, diligently researched the value and specifications of such a machine. It was a 3-wheel model. While a brand new model from Golden Tech might cost $2,756, this particular scooter was approximately 8 years old. Sarah looked through various listings to find a fair market value for a used model from the year 2015. The findings suggested a range between $250 and $750. At the time Mr. Tappendorf took possession of the scooter in May of the year 2021, it was not in running condition. Mrs. Shepler believed it simply needed 2 new batteries. She had originally hoped to sell it for a much higher price, perhaps $3,000, once it was repaired. However, acknowledging that Mr. Tappendorf was a handyman, she proposed a different arrangement. She suggested that he could perform some work around her home, specifically installing a dishwasher and a water softener, in exchange for a discounted price on the scooter. Mrs. Shepler recalled mentioning a price of $1,500 during their verbal agreement. However, the term law, a contract requires clear and agreed-upon terms. Mr. Tappendorf took the scooter in May of the year 2021, but he did not provide any payment at that time. It was nearly a year later when he finally gave her $500. He believed that his labor, combined with that payment, had fulfilled his obligation. The judge listened as Mr. Tappendorf described the work he had performed. He had cut out cabinets to prepare a spot for the dishwasher, handled the plumbing, and completed the electrical work. He even installed an additional outlet for a microwave. Mrs. Shepler acknowledged that he had done the work, though she was not entirely satisfied with the quality. She mentioned that the dishwasher he installed was a used one, and that she eventually had to replace it with a new model. The conversation then shifted to the allegations of harassment. Mrs. Shepler described instances where the peace of the neighborhood had been disturbed. She spoke of loud music played during the day, so loud that it interfered with her ability to work from her home. On one occasion in March of the year 2023, the situation escalated to the point where the police were called. She also mentioned that Mr. Tappendorf had a habit of urinating outside in view of her grandchildren, a behavior that caused her great distress. The judge questioned why Mrs. Shepler would allow him into her home to perform repairs. Mrs. Shepler explained that she was not fully aware of the extent of his actions at that time. The tension between them grew after Mrs. Shepler filed her small claims case. She described an evening when Mr. Tappendorf had set up powerful spotlights in his flower bed aimed directly at her house. The entire street was illuminated by the bright light. When she returned home late that night, she felt harassed and afraid. The police were called again, and after speaking with the officers, the lights were finally turned off. Mr. Tappendorf, in turn, had filed a counterclaim for $1,800. He claimed that the frequent police calls had led to his eviction from the mobile home park. He felt that he had been unfairly targeted. However, the judge noted that he lacked sufficient proof to show that Mrs. Shepler was a direct cause of his eviction. Without evidence, a claim cannot stand. The judge looked at both parties, seeking to bring a sense of closure and fairness to the situation. She determined that the $500 Mr. Tappendorf had paid, combined with the labor he had provided, more than covered the fair market value of an older, non-running scooter. Mrs. Shepler had received a fair exchange for an item that had been gifted to her and was sitting in use lives in a peaceful and positive manner. Mr. Tappendorf had already moved out of the park, and Mrs. Shepler was now living in a more tranquil environment. The case was dismissed, leaving both parties with a lesson on the importance of clear communication and the value of letting go of past grievances to find a better future. As the first group departed, the courtroom prepared for the next case. Case number 3043 involved Mr. Vincent Huntsman and Mr. Jesse Valdez. Mr. Huntsman was a business owner who believed in helping his employees succeed. He was suing Mr. Valdez, a former employee, for an unpaid loan. Mr. Valdez had worked for Mr. Huntsman from July to November of the year 2022. In September that year, Mr. Valdez needed security deposit for a new apartment in Midvale, Utah. He was living there with his girlfriend and their 2 children. He lacked the necessary funds for the deposit, which totaled $2,800. Mr. Huntsman, wanting to support a good worker, advanced the money so that Mr. Valdez and his family would have a stable place to live. The understanding was that the money would be repaid through Mr. Valdez's continued work for the company. However, shortly after receiving the funds, Mr. Valdez decided to leave his claim that he had no other option, but the judge reminded him that personal choices do not negate financial responsibilities to those who have helped us. Mr. Valdez argued that the money was a gift, given because Mr. Huntsman valued him as a worker. The judge found this logic difficult to accept. A business owner provides such assistance with the expectation of a professional relationship. To accept a large sum of money for a housing deposit and then quit the job a month later was seen as a breach of that unspoken trust. Mr. Valdez also claimed that he had used some of his own money for the deposit. He presented bank records, but the judge pointed out that the deposits in his account matched the checks provided by Mr. Huntsman. One deposit of $1,400 was made on August 19th, and another for the same amount followed on September 3rd. Together, they totaled the $2,800 that Mr. Huntsman had provided. The judge ruled in favor of the plaintiff, Mr. Huntsman. She emphasized that while it is noble to help others, there must be accountability. Mr. Valdez still lived in the apartment, and the security deposit remained with the landlord. It was only right that the money be returned to the person who had originally provided it. As the proceedings concluded, the courtroom remained a place of quiet reflection. The day's case act, kindness, when met with responsibility, creates a strong community. When we honor our agreements and treat our neighbors with respect, we build a world that is brighter for everyone. The judge watched as the people left the courtroom, hoping that they would carry these lessons with them into their daily lives, finding peace, honesty, and a renewed sense of purpose in their journeys ahead. The doors of the courthouse remained open, welcoming all who sought the steady and fair hand of justice in a world that always strives for better. The morning sun rose slowly over the quiet landscape of a mobile home community, casting long shadows across the neatly arranged rows of houses. This was a place where neighbors often knew each other by name, where the sound of a distant lawnmower was the most common interruption to the silence, and where lives intertwined in the smallest of ways. In this peaceful setting, two residents lived across the street from one another, their lives connected by a shared history and a machine that had long since seen its best days. Robin Shepler was an intelligent and hard-working woman who valued the order and tranquility of her home. She had lived in this community for 2 years, and for that entire time, her neighbor had been a man named Garrett Tappendorf. Garrett was a handyman by trade, a man who worked with his hands and seemed to possess a restless energy that outdoor projects. Their relationship had begun with the simple, polite gestures of neighbors, and at one point, it had even blossomed into a brief social connection. They had once shared a Friday night fish dinner, a pleasant evening filled with the smell of fried batter and the sound of easy conversation. It was the only time they had ever gone out, just the two of them, a single moment of companionship before the complexities of life began to pull their friendship apart. The centerpiece of their mounting conflict was a mobility scooter, a model known as the Golden Companion 2. This machine had once belonged to the father of Robin Shepler. Her father had purchased a scooter and a wheelchair through a connection he had at the Veterans Affairs Center, buying them directly from the manufacturer with the hope of maintaining his independence. However, as his health declined, he moved into a nursing home without ever having a chance to use the scooter. It had been passed down to Robin in the year 2018, and since that time, it had sat unused, a silent reminder of her father's past. By the time the month of May in the year 2021 arrived, the scooter had been sitting idle for 3 years. It was not in running condition, primarily because it required 2 new batteries to power its electric motor. Robin, knowing that a brand new Golden Companion 2 could cost over $2,756 value, she had initially hoped to replace the batteries herself and sell the scooter for approximately $3,000. However, Garrett Tappendorf expressed an interest in purchasing it. Knowing that Garrett was a skilled handyman, Robin proposed a deal that seemed beneficial to both parties. They reached a verbal agreement where the price of the scooter would be discounted in exchange for Garrett performing several labor-intensive tasks at her home. Specifically, he was to install a dishwasher and a water softener. Robin mentioned a price of $1,500, though the exact terms of their agreement remained somewhat fluid and undefined in the beginning. Garrett took possession of the 3-wheeled scooter in May of 2021. He did not provide any payment at that time, as the understanding was that his labor would cover a significant portion of the cost. Over the following months, he set to work on the installations. The task was not a simple one, as the house had not been originally designed for a dishwasher. Garrett had to cut into the existing cabinets, prepare the plumbing by running pipes through multiple sections of the kitchen, and perform the necessary electrical work to provide power to the appliance. He also installed an additional electrical outlet for Robin's microwave. However, as time passed, the relationship between the two neighbors began to sour, and Garrett felt that his labor was worth more than the credit he was receiving toward the purchase of the scooter. Close to 8 months to a year after he had taken the machine, Garrett provided a payment of $500 to Robin. He believed that this cash payment, combined with the extensive labor he had performed, more than covered the value of an 8-year-old scooter that had not been running when he received it. The tension between them escalated beyond the simple transaction of the scooter. Robin grew increasingly frustrated by Garrett's lifestyle and habits. On the 16th day of March in the year 2023, the conflict reached a breaking point. Garrett was playing his music at an extremely high volume during the day, a habit that Robin found increasingly difficult to tolerate while she was trying to work. The loud bass vibrated across the street, disrupting the peace she had worked so hard to maintain. Feeling she had no other choice, she called the police to report the noise disturbance. The following day, as Robin returned home from work and stepped out of her car, the confrontation turned personal. She alleged that Garrett shouted vulgar and offensive terms at her, an act that deeply upset her. Furthermore, she claimed that he had developed a disturbing habit of urinating outdoors in areas where her grandchildren could see him. These actions created an atmosphere of fear and discomfort for Robin. In a legal resolution, Robin filed a small claims case against Garrett. She believed that the value of the unused scooter was higher than the $500 he had paid. Despite its age, she argued that $1,000 was a more appropriate price given its original condition. However, the filing of the lawsuit only seemed to intensify the friction. Robin witnessed Garrett placing spotlights in his front flower bed and running extension cords to power them. One evening, when she returned home late at night, she found the entire street illuminated because the spotlights were shining directly onto her house. The police were called once again, and while the lights were eventually turned off, the sense of security Robin had once felt was gone. The case eventually came before a judge, a woman of sharp intellect and little patience for ambiguity. The judge meticulously examined the facts, looking at the market value of used mobility scooters from the year 2015. The research indicated that such machines, depending on their condition, typically sold for anywhere between $250 and $750. Given that Garrett had already paid $500 in cash and had performed significant labor in installing a dishwasher and electrical outlets, the judge concluded that Robin had been more than fairly compensated. The judge also addressed Garrett's claims to the police had led to his eviction from a mobile home park, and he sought $1,800 in damages for moving expenses. However, he lacked documented proof that Robin's actions were the direct and sole cause of his eviction. Without such evidence, the judge could not rule in his favor. Ultimately, the judge dismissed cases, noting that Robin had been handsomely paid for an old machine and that Garrett had failed to prove his claim of wrongful eviction. As the legal proceedings concluded, both parties left the courtroom to move on with their lives in different directions. Garrett was no longer living in the mobile home community, a change that brought a sense of peace to Robin and the other neighbors. Robin was able to return to a life of quiet reflection, grateful for the resolution and the opportunity to live in a place that felt safe once more. In another part of the city, a different story of generosity and disappointment was unfolding between a business owner and his employee. Vincent Huntsman was a man who took pride in his work and in his ability to help others succeed. He owned a business that specialized in insulation, and he was always looking for dedicated workers who were willing to grow with his company. In early July of the year 2022, Vincent hired a young man named Jesse Valdez. Jesse was a father of 2 children and lived with his girl. Wanted to support him, not just as an employee, but as a person trying to build a stable life for his family. In September that year, Jesse needed a place to live and found an apartment in Midvale, Utah. However, he did not have the funds required for security deposit, which amounted to $2,800. Vincent, wishing to see his new employee succeed and wanting to ensure that Jesse had a stable home environment, decided to advance the money for security deposit. The understanding, at least from Vincent's perspective, was that this was a loan to be repaid through Jesse's future work and wages. It was a gesture of good faith, an investment in a man he believed would be a long-term asset to his business. Jesse moved into the apartment along with his girlfriend, their 2 children, and another employee who was a friend and relative. However, the situation changed rapidly. Just 1 month after receiving the $2,800 for the security deposit, Jesse decided to leave his job to become a stay-at-home father. He claimed that he had no other option, but this decision left Vincent in a difficult position. The money he had advanced was now tied up in a security deposit for an apartment where Jesse still lived, but there was no longer any work being performed to repay the debt. When the matter reached the courtroom, the judge looked closely at the timeline of events given to him because Vincent was so eager to have him as a dedicated worker. He claimed that after background and credit checks, the required deposit had increased from $1,400 to $2,500, and that he had used some of his own funds. However, when asked to provide proof of his own payments, Jesse pointed to deposits in his bank account that had actually come from Vincent. The judge found Jesse's argument to be lacking in merit. It was clear that Vincent had provided the funds in anticipation of Jesse's continued employment. The idea that a business owner would make a gift of $2,800 to a new employee, only to have that employee quit a month later, was not supported by the facts or by common sense. The judge ruled in favor of Vincent Huntsman, ordering the return of the funds. Both cases served as a profound reminder of the importance of clear communication and the preservation of boundaries in both personal and professional relationships. In the quiet mobile home park, Robin Shepler learned that while kindness among neighbors is a virtue, significant transactions should always be guided by clear terms and mutual respect. Garrett Tappendorf, in his new home, had the opportunity to reflect on the impact of his actions on those around him. Vincent Huntsman, despite the disappointment of his experience with Jesse, remained a man who believed not every investment in a person would yield a positive return, but he refused to let one negative experience harden his heart or diminish his desire to see others succeed. Jesse Valdez, now facing the responsibility of his debt, was left to consider the consequences of his choices and the value of the opportunities he had been given. In the end, the lives of these individuals were a testament to the enduring human spirit. They showed that even in the midst of conflict and misunderstanding, there's always a path toward justice and a chance for a new beginning. The sun continued to rise and set over the community, a constant presence in a world where the lessons of the past paved the way for a brighter and more thoughtful tomorrow. The stories of Mobility Scooter and the security deposit were more than just legal disputes. They were chapters in the ongoing narrative of human experience, highlighting the delicate balance between generosity and responsibility. They taught that while it is noble to help a neighbor or an employee, it is equally important to act with integrity and to honor the commitments we make to one another. As Robin sat on her porch, enjoying the silence of the afternoon, she felt a sense of clarity. The Golden Companion, too, was gone. The court case was over, and the spotlights no longer troubled her sleep. She had stood up for herself and found a resolution that in the bustling city, Vincent Huntsman continued to build his business, his faith in people tempered by wisdom but still very much alive. The world remained a complex place, filled with individuals trying their best to navigate the challenges of daily life. But through the noise and confusion, the values of honesty, hard work, and kindness remain the guiding lights, ensuring that even when things go wrong, there's always a way to make them right again.